What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. On today's episode, of course, we're going to be breaking down, talking a little bit more about the Bulls win over in Utah, their first win in Utah since 2016. We're also going to be talking about two articles, one from The Ringer that basically says the Chicago Bulls are the most depressing team in the NBA and that they should blow it up. We're also going to talk about an article that came out from Slam Magazine last night that some internally think that Lonzo Ball is going to be back by the All-Star break. We'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So the Bulls last night got a big win and had a much better second half than first half. Just in the way that they defended. Looking at Lauri Markkanen, who had 24 points in the first half, comes back only 32 points on the game, holding them to 8 points in the second half in total. They did allow Kelly Olynyk to go off 5 for 10 from three-point range. Ayo Dosunmu did a really solid job defending Jordan Clarkson as well, holding him to probably his worst game of the season. I think that kind of went overlooked, and I even kind of overlooked that in the post-game show yesterday. But Jordan Clarkson, who is their second leading scorer, got held to 3 for 15 for only 8 points in that game. And so the Bulls, as has become typical of the Chicago Bulls, really are a better second half team. We have been a better second half team throughout most of this season. And so that continued in this game. But the things that bothered me in this game, right? And I talked about this over in the post-game show. I'm just going to touch on it briefly a little bit here as well, is the defensive scheme at times from the Chicago Bulls. There was way too much Ayo Dosunmu on Lauri Markkanen. We all kind of came into this game expecting to see Lauri versus P. Will. And really, in that first half, Patrick Williams guarded Lauri Markkanen on maybe 5 possessions. If even that, I think I'm even giving them a little bit too much credit for that. He did. And in that time, Lauri Markkanen scored on Patrick Williams on one of those possessions. Outside of that, Patrick Williams did a pretty good job defensively on Lauri Markkanen. And so, it was just questionable on why having so many guards. There are also times where DeMar was switched on Kelly Olynyk, and not even say switched. There are times where the scheme was to have DeMar DeRozan guarding Kelly Olynyk, which I know Kelly Olynyk isn't like this huge usual threat to score, but when you look at the size discrepancy and the strength discrepancy and the fact that DeMar isn't the strongest player, especially not guarding somebody when it comes to like a Kelly Olynyk, there was just some things with that kind of bother me with the way that, Billy Donovan had things planned out defensively. I just think there are some short-sighted things in that area, especially when we already know we're going to play small, a lot of lineups with 4 guards and 1 big man. We expect that part of it. But just when you have the opportunity to put like Patrick Williams on Lauri Markkanen, who Patrick Williams is one of our better defenders outside of like really Alex Caruso. He has some of the best defensive metrics on the team. So just some things like that I do think contributed to the Bulls' tough first half against the Utah Jazz. Again, the three-point shooting, the Utah Jazz were shooting over 51% from the field in the first half. That came down hugely in that second half, and we got to see this team play a little bit better in this game. DeMar DeRozan, double-digit points in both the third quarters and the fourth quarters. He ends up with 26 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 1 steal in this game. DeMar was everything that we come to expect and need from DeMar DeRozan down the stretch of close and tight games. So, while he didn't shoot the best percentage, him and Zach did not shoot the best tonight at all. DeMar DeRozan, 9 for 20. Zach LaVine, 7 for 20. They both get over 20 points in this game, but to be 16 of 40 for your top 2 scorers on the team, that's a little bit cause for concern there. But again, it doesn't matter because they got the job done at the end of the day. And especially DeMar was definitely DeMarvelous in the second half of that game. Zach, especially in the third quarter, looked really good. He had some really good possessions that were non-scoring possessions. Zach's having a pretty solid defensive game as well from Zach LaVine. Rebounded the ball well, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal from Zach LaVine. He played a really good game, was tied for the highest plus-minus on the team with Alex Caruso on this. So having good minutes from Zach LaVine. That shooting just still hasn't come around. Vooch, not a double-digit rebounding game, but he did have 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. He played a pretty okay game. He missed a lot of three-pointers. He took over 4. I think he was 0 for 4 from the three-point range, which he was. We want to see that tighten up from Nikola Vucevic, but at the end of the day, they didn't really feed Vooch when he had mismatches. There were several, again, which has become the story of this team this season, several missed possessions where he had mismatches that they just did not go to Nikola Vucevic. So that's an issue. But Kobe White in this game coming up clutch with 15 points in this game, 2 rebounds. But if you got to watch the game, for those that don't watch the game, you have to watch it to see how well Kobe White played with his passing, with his off-the-ball defense, with getting deflections, with just being active out there. Kobe shot 6 for 9, 3 for 5 from the three-point range in this game, 2 rebounds, only 1 personal foul, no turnovers from Kobe White. Kobe White played a really good game in this one. Also, Andre Drummond, double-double off the bench, and just in only like 16 minutes on top of that. Andre Drummond is having an efficient season completely. He's playing really good for the Chicago Bulls. I like what he's doing. Io, I already said it, really good defensive matchup on Jordan Clarkson. He only chips in 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, but that doesn't really tell you the totality of what he gave in this game. Goran Dragic had a stat-stuffing night in a lot of ways. 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He didn't shoot the ball well at all, but again, doing other things on the court for the Chicago Bulls team. That's what we want to see. This was a good, solid win. Some things that they can build off on, some things that they definitely need to improve on, as well as we got Phoenix and Golden State in their next 2 games. Hopefully we see the Bulls play much better in that, much better defensive effort for all 4 quarters. We're going to need that against both of those teams. Golden State Warriors starting to pull it back together, looking like that team we expected to come out after defending a title. And then on top of that, the Suns, they're number 1 team in the Western Conference right now. So the Bulls are definitely going to have their defensive heads and minds about them in the next 2 games. The Bulls are 3-1 in their last 4 games, which is super big considering just how bad that losing stretch was before then. We want to see this team continue to stack up wins, and hopefully we can get back above 500, which does play into the next topic, which is this article from The Ringer. And so this article from The Ringer, while it does point out a lot of truths, right? I can't really point at anything to say that is necessarily a lie with some of these things. When you look at them talking about how the Bulls have underperformed, the fact that the Bulls are they're looking at the Bulls as a win now team, and the fact that as a team that made the move for DeMar DeRozan, that cracked the window open, it definitely now is questioning if that move. And the thing that I disagree with in this, whereas I can't disagree with the stats, right? The stats are the stats. They're true. When you look at like the fact that LaVine, Vooch, and DeMar on the floor are -6, which is your big 3 when they're on the floor. We were -1.1 with them last year. You can't overlook that at all, right? You can't really find much holes in that. And then their shot selection, we're 28th in 3-point rate. We take more mid-range shots than any other team in the NBA, but we have we're the 28th in field goal percentage at the rim as well. So you got to look at some of those things. Definitely are issues for the Chicago Bulls, especially with the league that 3-point shooting has become much bigger parts of. Does point out some positive things like Alex Caruso. The Bulls are +77 when Caruso plays, -79 when he sits. These are all valid things to point out about this team that has struggled so far in the early part of the season. The thing where I start disagreeing with, and the thing that really doesn't make sense, and this is where I think, and I start taking it as teams really, some of these outlets really print things that they know are going to get clicks, because to say that the Bulls should blow it all up and embrace the tank, let's break down why that's a stupid idea, right? I'm just going to break down why the Slam Magazine article is dumb when it comes to the Bulls tanking. The Bulls right now, right? If the lottery took place today, the Bulls would have a 6% chance to receive the first overall pick, a 6.3 chance for the second pick, a 6.7 chance for the third pick, and a 7.2% for the fourth pick. That means that combined, the Bulls only have a 26% chance of keeping their own draft pick, which is owed to the Orlando Magic. But so because of that, it's not, it does not make sense for this team to go full tank. I know some Bulls fans are like, trade everybody. Let's go full rebuild. Let's all. It's not smart to do that, especially not this season. It's a smarter deal for the Bulls to make a big time trade to try to bring in some more talent. Still don't think that that's something that's likely to happen. But that's what's smarter. When you look at this Slam Magazine article, while, like I said, the stats you can't argue with, but the thing that this article does not point out is the fact that the Bulls are 5-2 or 5-3 against teams with winning records, right? Which does point to, hey, there is talent here. There is something to build off on here. And that's one of the most egregious things to me in this article is the fact that you point out the Bulls' issues, which, again, but you fail to mention the fact that the Bulls are having success versus last year where we weren't having success against the better teams in the NBA. The Bulls are having their success against winning teams, and we're losing against the teams that are projected to be in the lottery. So that there shows that there's enough to build off of, in my opinion, with this team to where this season is still salvageable. Having this article talking about the play from the place and acting like the Bulls are the Los Angeles Lakers where they have no path, no way to improve and have not had these big wins against some of the better teams in the NBA, to me is an egregious miscalculation, an egregious misstep in the just the fundamental part of this article. It seemed like this article came from the place of wanting to write something bad about the Bulls and wanting to have that title of the Bulls are the most disappointing team in the NBA because they knew it was going to get clicks, knows where Bulls Nation is. We have to keep our heads about us. We have to understand where the things from these national media outlets come from. They do things that they know that the fan base, considering where they are right at that point mentally, are going to click on. It's going to get draws. It's going to draw up some conversation. It's going to get retweeted. It's going to be talked about in Facebook groups. That's what this article is meant to do. And I look at it as, hey, this is a lot of good raw information, but the place that you came to on this to end it seems like it's just a place that you wanted to do to get clicks. And that's what this is. Now, they do start talking about, Vooch, DeMar, Levine being able to get to an all-star level. They talk very positively about Ayo Dosunmu and how he is overextended as a starting point guard, which I still disagree with. He's growing into that role for sure. And then, in this article to say that they think about, Mike Conley, Tyrus Jones is, a stabilizing presence for the Chicago Bulls if they decide to go that way. Like, this article, basically, the way that I look at it, like I said, a lot of good raw information, but the place that the writer comes to in this is a place that really feels like it was built upon, and this is Michael Pina, who is not one of those writers who does kind of the clickbait type things, but this is not an article in which I can support the place that he comes to in this, right? I can, and we've said it here, right? The way that the Bulls go, we're going to see by the end of this month. I keep saying that. I understand that. But the concept of blowing it all up, the concept of doing that for a team that has had more success against winning teams than not, I don't necessarily do that. Now, one thing that I do also agree with this is that saying that the Bulls do need to diversify Williams' playmaking responsibilities and give Dalen Terry a firm spot in the rotation and pray that their commitment to failure is rewarded with some lottery pick, though. Come on, man. Listen, this team, for it to go all in on a tank right now, to go all in on a potential lottery pick when that pick is top 4 protected, it'd be different if the pick was lottery protected, right? That's when you can surefire say, hey, this team should tank, not try to make the playoffs, because if they don't do that, guess what? They're going to get a lottery pick in a draft that shape should be deep. But this article to me just seems short-sighted, where you're not the Los Angeles Clippers. We're not the Los Angeles Lakers. We're not some of these teams that just really only have a path to improve based upon what they get in next year's draft. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting more talent to this team is definitely something that's needed, right? Definitely something that's wanted, desired by Bulls fans. We don't have that surefire superstar in the NBA yet that pushes you into championship contention. While I understand that, this team is not going to catch up with the Magic, not going to catch up with the Detroit Pistons, not going to catch up with the Houston Rockets, even the San Antonio Spurs, 6-15 on the season. We have much more talent than that, and we're showing that talent in some of the wins that we've gotten over some of these teams. Slam Magazine got to chill the fuck out, right? Chill the fuck out. Chill the hell out. But I know a lot of Bulls fans do see this article and agree with it, and I want to hear from you guys on this one. Do you think, as of right now, with the way that the Bulls have played recently and the way they've played against better teams, would you think and agree with this Ringer article that the Bulls should go all in on trying to tank to keep their own pick and to get in that top part of that lottery? Let me know what you guys think on that one down below. All right, before we end today, we got another article to talk about, and this one's from Slam Magazine. This one was on Lonzo Ball, in which they interviewed Sam Smith, and Sam Smith said this: the general word around the Bulls is he might be able to play in January, maybe by the All-Star break. That would be wonderful, though personally, without any information or insider scoops from sources, which may or may not know, I'm not counting on him this season. Now, that is really stirred up Bulls fandom naturally on, hey, Lonzo Ball could be back by the All-Star break. Lonzo Ball could be back by December. Lonzo Ball could be back by this. How does that change the team? Lonzo Ball does not completely fix everything that's wrong with this Bulls team, but we all know what Lonzo Ball is and can be when he's on the floor. Now, it might take a little bit of time whenever he does get back on the floor for him to look like the Lonzo Ball that we used to and that we need. But the thing that concerns me, and this is the last update we got from Billy Donovan, is that Lonzo was not running, he was not jumping, he was not cutting, and that it was still a long way off before making that. And that was just an update we got from Billy Donovan 12 days ago. Now, things could have taken a sharp turn in the last 12 days as well. That's very possible. I don't want to say that that's not. But again, we are now 8 weeks into what was supposed to be a 4 to 6 week reevaluation, and we've heard nothing. I lose more hope every single day that goes by without an update on Lonzo Ball and a more clear timeline on if he's going to return this season. But the Slam Magazine article, at least with hearing that there are some internally in the Bulls organization that are hopeful that Lonzo can be back by the All-Star break, that could be huge for the Chicago Bulls team and be like a mid-season acquisition alone. But I'm just going to say this, temper your expectations when it comes to that. Let's wait and see what happens and comes about with this team, with Lonzo and his recovery when it comes to this. But at least this is probably the first, especially from Sam Smith, more positive update on Lonzo Ball. But again, take this with a grain of salt. Even him saying without sources, the way I take that without sources comment basically means that without the doctors saying that, the medical staff saying that. So we'll see what develops into this. We'll see what comes from this. And if Lonzo Ball does end up being able to come back by the All-Star break, that'd be huge for the Chicago Bulls and give him enough time to really ramp him back up, get him back in rhythm before the playoffs. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think that there is a chance after this article now that Lonzo Ball could return by the All-Star break for the Chicago Bulls? Let me know what you guys think down below on that one. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave your text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like to end every episode on, go Bulls, love you guys, and see red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.